I started working with this company back in January 2021. And one of the first things that we were looking at is how do we increase sales in this region? This is a $40 million region. And the leadership at that time, like the senior sales leadership, the senior revenue leadership, they were all about, hey, look, you guys need to make more calls. You need to pick up the phone. You need to make calls. Call, 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 call. Kind of like this old school boiler room kind of situation. And cold calls. So one of the first questions that I asked when we started looking at it from a revenue engineering perspective is, okay, if we're going to double down on cold calls, what percentage of the new business that was closed came from cold calls last year? So I asked that to this VP of sales. I said, okay, so everyone's saying we have to do more cold calls. What percentage of revenue do you think came from cold calls last year? What percentage of new deals? And they were like, oh man, it's probably low. So we had access to all the data, and I think it was like Salesforce. We analyzed the data, and it was like, I think it was between 5 and 7%. I don't remember the exact number, but it was between 5 and 7% of their total contracts that came in the last 12 months were from cold calls. So if we want to close a lot more deals in the next 12 months, should we focus in the area that only generated 5 to 7%? Or should we put our time into doing something else? So we looked at the data and we decided, okay, well, let's engineer a new way of going about business that involves maybe even no cold calling. So what we implemented was a very simple 3-step process that had to do with helping people create conversations digitally, but automatically, then calling them if needed. But a lot of this was happening on the internet. Then being able to present them with a very clear differentiated message and send a great proposal. So that particular company, or that region, it was the southern region of this very large publicly traded company, that region was the single highest performing region across the entire globe that year. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that we stopped making cold calls and we started implementing new strategies that actually made more sense according to the data. That's the power of revenue engineering, and it was a really great time. So I'm actually still friends with that VP of sales to this day.